Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program we have Vonda Shepard. I had a chance to talk to Vonda about her new album, Red Light, Green Light. We call it a new album, and we'll get to why we can still call it a new album, even though it came out last year. So it's her new album. Definitely recommend checking that out. Vonda is going to be at Feinsteins at the Nico in San Francisco on July 14th and 15th. So you can get your tickets for either of those shows. See her in a nice intimate setting with her band, piano, and playing some of her songs from this new album, as well as over the span of her career. We get into talking about Ally McBeal. She has a wide history. She was very much a part of that show and all of her music career and upbringing. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Before we do, I want to talk about a concert I went to the other night. This is Concert Pipeline, as I mentioned, and we try and share some concert footage when we can and stories. So I had a chance to go to Blink-182 at Golden One Arena in Sacramento, and I wasn't planning on it. But I really wanted to. I mean, Blink-182 is great and a part of my youth, and I'd gotten to meet those guys a couple of times. Each of them, I met them all once at a signing for a radio station show, and then met Travis. I met Tom DeLonge when he was playing with Angels and Airwaves, went backstage at Warped Tour, and that was cool. He jumped into one of my interviews I was doing back in the day. And then Mark Hoppus actually got to hang out with for like an hour a couple years back when Blink-182 played in Concord, and my buddy John is good friends with Mark Hoppus, and so he was able to hook that up, and we hung out with them for like an hour before their show. It was super cool. And so I really wanted to go see their show on this reunion tour that they have with Tom DeLonge back in the band, but ticket prices were astronomical. I mean, cheap tickets in the nosebleeds were like 175. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I want to be in the pit, and those were going for 500 plus each. And I like seeing shows close, right? I like being there and being connected to the music and up in it, and being able to take some good pictures and videos, bring back for the podcast, right? And that wasn't looking like it was going to happen. But this was a rare Friday night that I didn't have my kids, and so I was looking on Craigslist, seeing who had tickets, who wasn't going to be able to make the show, and how could I maybe get a ticket without getting taken advantage of online, right? And then I was checking out Ticketmaster, and they, just while I was looking, dropped some seats behind the stage, starting out in the 200 section for $25 a ticket plus ticket charge. I'm like, oh, that's good. I was looking at that. But then I was still looking at those Craigslist tickets. And then while I was looking at this, they dropped more tickets in the 100 section right behind the stage. And I'm like, okay, and it said the view is obscured. Am I going to be able to see the show? I know it's a concert kind of in the round, and Blink-182 runs all over the stage while they're performing. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going. I just want to be at the show. So I went to the show, and I do not regret going. It was a lot of fun, and the seats behind the stage were actually really good. I mean, I was front row, right behind the stage, was able to see the show really well, and had a great perspective. And this band Pavement opened up for Blink-182, and I hadn't seen them before, but they put on a really great live performance also. And so in between the opening band and Pavement, I texted my buddy Jay to just to let him know I went to the show, and I had no idea that he actually happened to be at the same show as well. So and he had tickets up in the 200 section. So in between bands, I went up to that section, said hey to him and his wife, and then carried on back to my seat behind the stage. So really, really enjoyed the show. It was a great live show with, I mean, lots of pyros, technics, and other exciting pieces. I mean, they at one point raised Travis Barker, the drummer's his platform up, so it was lifted, but you can kind of get a sense for the angle that I was at here, and how close I actually was. So was I in the pit? No, but but I had a really great vantage point, and I thought the sound wasn't going to be very good from that angle either, but it actually was. I enjoyed the show a lot, and it was great to see that they were able to kind of mend their some of the challenges that they had as a band with Tom having to step away and do his own thing for a little bit. So it was a lot of fun. I want to play a couple songs from the show here on the podcast. So let's play one now, and we'll come back and play another one at the end of the program. So this is Blink-182's "Feeling This" from Golden One. That was Blink-182's "Feeling This" from Golden One here in Concert Pipeline. And that takes us to our main event here today. Again, I had a chance to chat with Vonda Shepard. We're a really great musician, and a lot of fun to get to know and hear her story through music. And so let's go ahead and get into that. Let's bring Vonda on in. Yeah. Vonda, how's your day treating you so far?
My day is it's interesting. It's been, well, last night I did an event, and so I'm kind of relaxing today. I did a big kind of important thing where I played a song.
Feinstein.
Yeah. What was
Diane
that?
Feinstein. Diane Feinstein.
Not then. It was Nancy Pelosi, actually.
Nancy Pelosi. I'm sorry. I already screwed up. So
no, it's okay. So I did that last night. So today I'm kind of calming down from the intensity of that evening, you know.
Tell me about it. How did that go last night?
It was really moving. It was for the Feminist Majority Foundation, and they had a gala. And this year is Ms. Magazine's 50-year anniversary, which is kind of exciting. And Nancy Pelosi was honored. And so I met her and played a song for her. She's from Maryland, and I have a song called Maryland that I wrote. So it was really special, actually.
Yeah. And so tell me about how did you get into the event? Tell me how the performance went.
How did I get it? Oh, my friend is an activist, and she kind of roped me in. She's like, will you please do this? And I said, are you kidding? Of course, I would love it. It was an honor. It was great.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you get to do those sort of things often?
Well, I try to, when I'm asked to do something like that, I try to say yes, because even though it's out of my, normal comfort zone, I think it's important to participate and help out where I can and lend my name and my songs. And then also just personally to push myself to do something different, because I can just stay home and read my books and be just in my own world. So it's good for me, personally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, to do different things.
It's always good to step outside your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, I think it's good to grow as a person to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back kind of to the beginning. You were raised by your dad, right?
Why, yes, I was, Steve. From the age of 10. Yeah. I have 3 sisters, and my mom departed, not, she's still here, and we're very close. My mom, I love my mom, but yeah, my dad raised us from the time I was 10.
Yeah. And so tell me about his influence on you musically. Like what was on in your household? What were you listening to as a kid?
It was the 60s. My 60th birthday is next week, basically. So
That's
yeah, so there was a lot of Beatles going on, and some Leonard Cohen, and not so much Bob Dylan, but he was, floating around a little bit. My dad and mom were beatniks, so it was nice kind of creative environment growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your dad did mime work with Marcel Marceau.
He did. He studied
And
with Marcel Marceau, and he studied with Marceau's teacher, Etienne Ducreux. And so my dad was a mime in the 60s, 70s, and then he became a theater director. And so I grew up in a creative household, but he was not a musician, but he gave us all lessons, and I've been playing piano since I was 6,
yeah. Did you latch onto it as a kid, or was it something you pushed away from early on and kind of came back to?
I I pushed away from it as a kid, but I stuck with it nevertheless. Thank goodness,
Yeah.
because it was at times didn't have the greatest teachers, and at times I did, but I kind of had to get through the difficult patches, and I was extremely shy, so I had to do a recital when I was like 7, and it was the worst moment of my life.
Oh no.
Can you believe it? And I'm now a singer performer, so it's weird.
Yeah. Well, again, you stepping out of that comfort zone event, and you did it. It's part of what makes you who you are, right? So
I think so. I'm gonna put a book in front of my door because it's banging. 1 second. Sorry.
okay, no worries. Yeah, you're good.
It's a little breezy here, and the wind is knocking the door. Okay, I'm back. Hi.
Okay. And so, at what point did you know you wanted to be a musician?
I started writing songs when I was 8, believe it or not. I mean, full
Wow.
songs that were very emotional, very fully realized. And I got my first gig. Well, we used to have house guests crashing on our couches, and one was a music journalist, and Christopher Kathman. And he got me a gig at a tiny little club when I was 14, the Relic House in the Valley in LA. And I played there, and there were, 15 people in the audience or whatever. And I was very shy, but when I got on stage, I suddenly felt free, and free to let it all hang out. You know what I mean? And I realized that night, up until that point, I wanted to be an astrophysicist. I was totally interested in science and astronomy. And that was the night I just went, oh, this is what I want to do, forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so back to, the songs that you wrote when you were 8, what was the content? What did you write about? Did you? It's a little early for love and that sort of thing, right? So
I mean, I must have been from a past life, because they're heart-wrenching, heartbreak songs that are just
really,
yes, and they're full of loneliness and longing for love, and just it makes you think, what the hell is going on?
you have a lot of life experiences at 8 years old, huh?
8, 9, 10, 11, all those songs are just. There's a song called "You Fell Apart" that I wrote when I was 10, and it's I came to you with a broken heart. I told you what I needed, and you fell apart. I
It
laugh.
rhymes. It works, right?
Works, and it's very direct, and Yeah, so I don't know. I was born with a lot of emotion, I guess, and so yeah, there you go.
And so after the show when you were 14, did you like have any bands that you joined in high school or people that you wrote music with around that time? What was kind of that next step for you?
I really just kept playing clubs with my own, with my best friend. My best friend and I played the club, for a couple shows. And then when I was 16, I met, he was the drummer of Tower of Power, and he brought in like a whole rhythm section. He, like funky bass player and the cool, all of a sudden I had a full band, and it was pretty exciting, to hear the songs arranged and played out like that.
Yeah.
Some people preferred it when I played solo piano, because I wasn't overpowering my melodies on the piano, but it was exciting and fun. It's part of the whole journey.
Yeah. What were some of the things you learned from that early stages of kind of making music with other people and kind of collaborating as a band?
Hmm. It took me a while to learn so much of what I've learned now. Like, I've come a long way. So back then, I don't think I had a grasp on maybe what was the best approach. I learned over the years how to be diplomatic with my band members, and that took a long time. So just to sit down and just this is on another level besides music, just to be able to communicate, well, and be a diplomat, took a long time. And that really helps in life a lot,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And remind me, you grew up in LA,
I did. I was born in New
right?
York. Yeah, you're right. I was born in New York City, and when I was very little, we moved to LA. Mhm.
Okay. And tell me about that environment as a whole, kind of the culture of being in this entertainment industry and kind of finding your way in that kind of area. Tell me what that was like for you.
Um, well, as far as my parents go and the entertainment industry, that was just a wacky, nutty kind of childhood, having these, creative people staying with us. So that's one phase of it. And then growing up and just in clubs. I mean, I used to go out 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week when I was 16, 17, 18, and hear music. I'd hear any music. I had these favorite bands, Kitty Hawk and Shelby Flint and Sumner. And these are bands no one would know
Mhm.
that, it was 1979 or whatever. And I would just immerse myself in music. It was heaven.
Yeah. And so kind of did you take things from like their live performances, those bands that you were a fan of, and to kind of incorporate into your onstage persona that you were creating?
I think so. Yeah. There was a woman, I've never talked about it in an interview because I don't know why, but her name was Rainey. She had a band. So I was about 18, 19. I'd go see her, and she was, white, but she belted it out and she just let it rip. Like I would be pinned to my seat. I don't know where she is now. But she influenced me, I'd say, because she showed me I could do that. And I had that in me. And I needed to have permission to let it come out, I guess.
Did you ever get to meet her?
Oh yeah. We used to,
Yeah.
I'd hang out after the show. We'd all like have a drink or whatever. Yes, I would do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked to her about kind of where that came from, that inner voice?
No,
No.
I
Yeah.
wasn't
Just
not
just
in
saying.
a relationship. I didn't know her that well, but I loved going and seeing her. Also, Shelby Flint was also a female keyboard player singer, and she had a very soulful voice. You know,
Yeah.
when I was 18, I worked at a restaurant called the Great American Food and Beverage Company, and all the waiters and hostesses sang and played instruments throughout the night. And
Really?
yeah, it was crazy. It was a huge restaurant, so there were about 40 employees, 40 waiters, and we all were just crazy.
Yeah.
We had a good time. It
What a cool environment. Huh?
was really fun.
and
Yeah.
and so tell me about finding your voice as a musician beyond the instruments. Kind of how did you kind of develop your sound and what you wanted to kind of take into your artistry?
It just happened, organically. I would sit at the piano and whatever would, kind of come out. Who I was listening to influenced me, I'm sure, the singer-songwriters of the day. I used to listen to Ricky Lee Jones, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Jackson Browne, all those 70s, Paul Simon. and they all, I probably got filtered into my music, aspects of them. But then, it was when I started working with Mitchell Froom, who's my husband and also producer of 8 of my albums.
1999, around there you started?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And he kind of identified the soul in my voice, that he thought that that's where I shined, even doing all of my own background vocals stacked up. It was a real part of my sound, and he really encouraged that for my records. And I like that. And I feel comfortable in that zone,
Yeah.
And
And
David,
so he's for, oh, go ahead. No.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'll let you finish. You're the
Okay.
guest.
Oh, no, you. Okay.
No,
No.
you first.
Okay,
We'll have
okay.
time for it all, trust me.
Okay. Yeah, well, and the other person who recognized that was David Kelly, who, I did the show Ally McBeal with, because and he used a lot of 60s and soul tunes, and I felt very comfortable in that genre.
Yeah. So we'll get back to David, but let's talk about Mitchell first, obviously. And I'm interested in kind of working with him as your husband. And he wasn't your husband when you started working with him, but became that. And tell me kind of about how you collaborate together. Like how he's obviously hasn't done anything too far wrong, because you allow him to continue to produce your albums this far into the game, right?
Right. Well, just so you know, he was my all-time favorite record producer, and I used to sort of study his style. I'd listen to his records and really dissect them. And so first of all, to meet him, when I met him, he actually played on my second album in 1990, which
Wow.
a lot of people don't know. He played on 2 songs on that album. That's where I met him. Don was producing one song and David Pack another, and they pulled him in to play B3. And so we met, and years later, we worked together, 9 years later. It's kind of amazing. But I was a huge, huge fan of his. And so the process is, I'll play him a new song. I'll be working on a song and I'll sit down with him and play him the song. Sometimes it's not done at all. And he'll listen and he'll close his eyes and nod his head. And then he'll say, play it again. And I'll play it again. And then he sits down at the piano and starts playing the song exactly how I played it, because he's a genius and he has perfect pitch. And it's pretty crazy to see that, happening. And then, he'll suddenly change one chord and the whole song sounds 100 times better to me. One chord, literally. Or he'll change a bass note, or he'll add a bar of space, and it just unfolds before my eyes. And it's just a fascinating process to watch. And I love it. I'm really lucky.
Yeah. Do you ever have anything that you push hard against when working with him? You're like, no, this is really the way that I see it, and it's got to be this way? Or do you feel like there's really a solid balance?
There were a couple of times, especially in the beginning, that we didn't click. There was a song called Soothe Me, and he wanted to do it more of a soulful version with a band, and I did try it, and in the end we went with the more piano vocal, so that's one that I'm glad I kind of fought for, because he's very, very strong-willed. Yeah. And it teaches me to be strong myself, because if there is something that's really important to me, I know I have to stand up for it, and that's good. But in general, most of the time, I'm pretty amazed by his ideas,
Yeah. Does he produce other artists too, or do you two work pretty exclusively together?
Oh no, he's produced 170 albums, a lot of which you might know.
Probably. Okay, I need to look at and listen to more of his stuff. So,
he produced the early Elvis Costello, Richard Thompson, Crowded House, Paul McCartney, The Pretenders, the Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac was way later. The list is very, very long, 170 albums,
It's huge. I'm sure it's just sometimes just sit down and hear the stories. That's a great thing about, an outlet like this is getting to hear these stories from all these legends, that I talked to an artist yesterday whose dad was in the army with Elvis,
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, it never gets old. Right. And so, I'm sure being married to someone who has all those stories, right, is just as incredible. And you have your own, I mean, obviously, like you can swap stories. So
and we know each other's stories pretty well now. We've been together 24 years. So we know, I get to hear his stories when we go to a dinner with other people and I go, oh yeah, I remember that story.
yeah.
But no, he's just an incredible record producer. And it's intense though, because he's got such strong ideas, and I do have to sometimes go with the feeling of the moment and go, does this feel right? And usually it does, like I said.
Yeah. Man, that's cool. So let's go back to David E. Kelly, because obviously that led to, I mean, one of your biggest breaks out there, right? And so it started with an album that you did. I'm blanking on the name of the album. Trying to pull it.
Oh, it's Good Eve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good Eve. Oh, yeah. It's Good Eve. It's Good Eve. Yes. Okay. And then so that kind of led to your job with Ally McBeal. And so what was it in It's Good Eve? Did he tell you kind of what it was that sold him on you being perfect for Ally McBeal?
Well, let me give you a slight short backstory on It's Good Eve, which you're gonna like. I think you're gonna like. Some people already know this, but I used to sing backups for Jackson Browne. And during that time, at soundcheck, I would play the songs from the album It's Good Eve. And Jackson came up to me once and said, if you can finish this album by next summer, you can open for me and sing with me. So he gave me his studio for a month, which is a world-class studio, free. He gave it to me for a month. I recorded It's Good Eve. And I ended up, so I was doing a gig in LA, and I invited David E. Kelly and his wife to see the show. And he knew me when we were friends, but he just had an epiphany that night with, the emotional tenor, timbre, whatever those good adjectives are, hit him very intensely, that this was the feeling he wanted for his show. So he pretty much used almost every song on the album It's Good Eve. And if it weren't for Jackson Browne, that album it wouldn't exist in the way that it sounds. And so that's how the whole trajectory happened,
Yeah. So tell me about the experience recording in Jackson Browne's studio also. Was that like incredible also?
Oh yeah, it was so incredible. He's such a philanthropist. He's such a good guy and a nice person, good friend. And it was heaven working in his studio. And I was working with a great engineer, Julie Last, who had worked with Joni Mitchell. And my ex, Michael Landau, and I were co-producing. We brought in some of the most incredible musicians like Vinnie Colaiuta. Michael obviously played guitar, and Jeff Young, who recently passed away. He was my keyboard player. So, it was a beautiful experience. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Joni Mitchell. You mentioned Joni a couple of times, but you also did River with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh yeah.
And tell me about that experience. I mean, there's two experiences there. There's Robert Downey Jr. and then there's Joni. But let's start with Robert Downey and then tell me about Joni.
Well, so the last season of Ally McBeal, Robert Downey Jr. was brought on to the show. He agreed to be on the show. And we did this album. I think that was on maybe the Christmas album. I don't remember. Or it was maybe on the last For Once in My Life. I don't remember. We did so many albums. So yeah, it was, he's a really, deep person and excellent singer. And working with him was like working with any great singer-songwriter, any good musical artist. It wasn't like an actor who sings. He had a depth to him. Yeah. And it was very intense in the studio working with him. He got down into it. He got down up in there as my guitar player. So I think he did a great job. And it was an honor to sing Joni's song. And I have to tell you this, I'm not trying to like brag, but I was at my friend Julia Fordham's house at a dinner, and Joni was there, and I was sitting next to her, and she said, I love the version with Robert Downey Jr. of River. She's like, that's my favorite version besides my own, basically.
Wow.
Fell off my chair, and I was just like, thank you. That means so much to me,
Did you even know she'd heard it like at that
No,
point? No.
I did not. I did not. And that's the weird thing about being on national television. And this is before computers and streaming, this is 20
Oh,
years ago. So it was important when a show came on that had an impact, and people actually watched it and paid attention. There weren't like 700 TV shows that
no.
were
Even low-rated shows had astronomical ratings by today's standards,
True.
back then. And Ally McBeal was on for a handful of seasons, and it did well, right? So
It did very well. Yes.
yeah.
People watched it. It was good. Yeah.
And so when you get this opportunity for Ally McBeal, what is that like? What is it sold to you as, in terms of your involvement? Did it start with, okay, you're going to do the theme song for Ally McBeal and maybe a couple of other songs? Or is it like you are the music person for this show and there's going to be a lot of music involved?
Oh, okay. Well, this is the funniest thing. I was living in New York. I had moved to New York and I was writing the album by 7:30. I wrote the whole album in New York for 1 year. And during that time, I get a call from them and they say, we want you to record one song. They didn't say which song, but actually, no, wait, let me go back. Hold on. This is what they wanted me to record. I think it was the song Tell Him for the theme song of Ally McBeal. I think that was the original theme song choice. And my manager and I said, let's play the producers my songs, because I wanted my own song in there. And we played 5 songs for them. And David Kelly and the whole crew gathered in a rehearsal studio in LA, played the 5 songs. And he said, if you can squeeze Searching My Soul into 1 minute, that can be the theme song. And so we squeezed it into 1 minute, we recorded it. And I thought, okay, I'm doing the theme song for a TV show. I didn't know that I was going to be on the show. I didn't know I was going to be on camera. So they fly me in, we shoot the pilot. I record a couple other songs. Pearl's a singer, I think was on the pilot, and it was gorgeous. And he used Hemisphere, I think, in the pilot, one of my songs. And then here's what happened. I get a call from the wardrobe woman, and she says, we need you to come in for a fitting because we're going to be seeing a lot of you. So I found out through the wardrobe woman. I didn't even have a contract, normally you have a major contract.
Yeah.
I was getting paid scale, scale. And she said, we're going to be seeing a lot of you. And I'm like, you are? Okay, I better move to LA. So I moved, I literally moved from New York like 2 weeks later to LA, and we started shooting episodes, and it took off. We won the Golden Globe that year, and everything exploded into craziness.
Wow. And I mean, so I read you produced over 500 songs for for Ally McBeal. I mean, that's astronomical in any musician's, kind of work. And not to mention, I mean, the truncated time that you're doing what is that like for you to just be so involved? Is it like and I ask this also from like a TV show creation, is it like, okay, you're with one artist 1 week and then another artist the next week, sort of thing? What was that experience?
It was the most insanely intense, busy time I can ever imagine. I can't really imagine doing it at this point in my life. But what would happen is I would get the script, I would read the script, I'd see 3 or 4 songs written at the bottom, and the guest artists. Sometimes it would be like Vonda sings this, Vonda, this and that. And 2 days later, we'd go in the studio with my insanely good band. So I've had the best musicians around me, and they're a huge part of why we could work quickly,
Yeah.
The symbiosis we had. I also had this kind of feeling of understanding of what David Kelly was going after for the show. So it was not like complicated for me to capture that in music. So it was a really symbiotic connection. And we'd go in the studio. Sometimes I'd send the songs the night before, but I wanted to work with them because I knew what I wanted to do, arrange the arrangements, the vibe, play the song through a few times, and then we'd grab it. We'd record like 3 takes, listen together, choose a take, do a couple guitar overdubs. I'd put on 3 or 4 vocals that we'd comp later, and then we'd have lunch. Then we'd cut another tune, same way. And by, dinner time, we'd have 3 songs cut.
What?
None of the vocals comped, none of the, we would have done a lot of the overdubs instantly, like quick, put on our B3 part, put on a string section, or a string part. That night after dinner, I'd comp all my vocals on each song, which means if people don't understand what that means, I do 3 or 4 takes, choose the best lines from each. And so we comp one, that would take an hour and a half. Next one, comp the next one, comp the next one. And then sometimes we'd even have horns arriving at 8 p.m. and we'd throw horns on there. It was an insane schedule, but we did it.
It's crazy. And then how much of that is like then brought on camera for you? Because they said the wardrobe person said they're going to be seeing a lot of you. So then how often did you take the song and kind of have to kind of make a music video of it of sorts, or, kind of translate it to the show?
Every single week I would.
Oh my God.
So say I was in 2 songs, I'd have to learn the comp, which means I'd have to memorize all the vocals, and because I lip synced, so I wasn't singing live on the set. I was singing to the tape. So I had to memorize all those soul licks that I did off the cuff and real. And we'd film the entire song, sometimes 5 times, 10 times on the set. And then they'd sometimes only use 30 seconds, but we would record the entire song and we would film the entire song, which is why we were able to have 4 albums, soundtrack albums, because we had the whole song recorded, which was smart.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting, as you can hear by my voice. It was just thrilling, hard work though. Oh,
for sure. And some of the artists that you got to work with on there, I know we already talked about Robert Downey, but Randy Newman, and you worked with Randy Newman later again as well, in a play. It feels like home, right? So like you've worked with him a couple times.
I have worked with him, and Mitchell has been producing Randy Newman for over 20 years. So I'm also friends with him. We're not close. My husband is really close friends with him, and he didn't need a lot of help in the studio in terms of.
I mentioned.
I stepped aside somewhat. He's such a just brilliant artist, like a national treasure, international treasure,
Yeah. And what was working with him on the play like? What, remember the name of the play?
He wrote a play called Faust. It's Randy Newman's Faust. And it was in New York, and it was Broadway shows that were revived on a program called Encores Off. And so it was only a couple of performances. But it had, it was exciting. It was getting up on a Broadway stage, and working with him was just an honor. And I never do musical theater. So, and it was written like songs, but also acting. So it was good. Got some great reviews, and people were saying, "Oh, Broadway is ready for you, Vonda." I was just like, "Am I ready for that? I don't know."
Yeah. What about Bon Jovi? What was it like working with Bon Jovi?
Rock star.
Yeah, right.
Between Bon Jovi and let's see, Barry Manilow. No, I was going to say something I'm not going to say. Barry was very, very picky in the studio, but he ended up it was like a love fest by the end of the day. It worked out really well. But with John definitely, knew what he wanted in the studio. And, it's funny being a woman producer, a female producer. And I think I got some respect, but I had to earn it for some people, let's just say,
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Were there any artists that you really respected that you kind of worked with on Ally McBeal that you got to work with again later? Obviously outside of Randy Newman and his friendship.
Let me try to think. I'm blanking on that right now, but I will say that when I was 16, the Bell album, Belle album by Al Green was one of my top 3 albums, and I listened to it every single day. And suddenly, these are the things that would happen on Ally McBeal. Suddenly, I'm working with Al Green. I'm producing him. He walks in, and there's the legend Al Green, and with his big smile. And I hear that voice in the studio, and I hear the laugh. We did a duet together, so it was magical. It was just
I'm sure your mind was blown, and you're like, this is like It was my childhood. Did you fan out on them at all and kind of be like, I listened to your album so much as a kid?
I did, yeah. I like to tell people when I like them because it's not
Yeah.
I don't totally overwhelm them with my, I don't ask for autographs or
Yeah.
who was an intense one was Sting. Sting walking in the studio. I'm like, how many times when I was in my 20s did I listen to what was the album? Nothing Like the Sun or
Okay. I think so.
it's been a while.
It's been, yeah. I'd have to pull that one out too. So yeah.
But yeah, it
But
was working with legends and
yeah.
incredible people. It's great.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And so then after Ally McBeal, like, I mean, what was your kind of mindset in terms of those next steps in your career? Did you like, oh my gosh, I was running a marathon for the past X years of the series, and I need to do something different, or were you getting sought after for other shows?
Okay, well, about 6 months before the end of the season 5 of Ally McBeal, um, I was sensing that it was coming to an end. And I started writing a ton of songs because I knew that when it ended, there was going to be this like gaping hole, like a quagmire I was going to fall into if I
Yeah.
didn't have a project. So I started writing the album Chinatown, and I did finish it, record it at the end of the show, and it came out in 2003, I believe. And I hit the road. I went straight out on the road to Europe. And because there was definitely something missing suddenly, like with my
Yeah.
time. And that was a good move. That was a really good move. So I did Chinatown, did well with that. And then I just kept writing. And then I had a baby, my son,
Yeah.
2003. So
I was going to ask, you didn't have any kids during Ally McBeal phase, right? There's just no time.
no, there was no time, and I wasn't married to anybody. I didn't have a boyfriend.
Oh,
I was just obsessed with my work, and I wasn't seeing anybody, except that I started seeing Mitchell, but toward halfway through. But yeah, so just kept touring and kept making records. Even when I had my son, I would go on the road. He had his first birthday in Austria, so I definitely
wow.
was a bit of a workaholic. And kept making the records, and the new record came out less than a year ago. I call it the new record still. It's Red
Yeah.
Light, Green Light, and I'm still out there promoting it and playing the songs. Yeah.
After all the work that you did with, and the pace that you kept with Ellen McBeal, you can call a record new for a year or whatever. Fine. Like, you can take a slower pace. You've earned it, right? So,
Yeah, 1 year actually equals 3 years. So, or the other way around, something like that. But yes, thank you.
of course. Yeah. So tell me the process of making Red Light, Green Light. Like, how did you kind of change your approach with this album?
Well, with Red Light, Green Light, it was the pandemic. Okay. So I had done Rookie, the album Rookie, a few years before.
Mhm.
And I was really feeling a need to have new music to play live, like music to give the show a burst of energy and inspiration. So it was good motivation. And then, kind of had no excuses. I had the pandemic, and I just went in. I have a pub at my house. We call it the pub. There's a little piano,
Oh,
doors. It's really cool. So I go in the pub, and I would just play and write. And it's hard. Writing an album is so arduous, and it's mostly it's editing. If you want it to be good, it's mostly editing, and it's hard.
yeah.
I didn't know if I could do another one after Rookie, and I'm so glad I did, because I love a lot of the songs on this album, and it gives me a great feeling to play them live.
Yeah. And so you have a tour. You're calling it in some places like your 60th birthday tour.
I
in a
accidentally
sense,
what?
yeah, in a sense, right? You put that out online, so
It's my fault.
yeah. And so you're hitting the Bay Area at the Nico on July 14th and 15th. Feinsteins at the Nico. And tell me about times you've played the Bay Area before?
I have, and I've played Feinsteins many times. I play the one in New York as well, but I've played the one in San Francisco probably 8 times. And I love it because it's so intimate, and there's a real piano, and it's just, it's just like a living room environment, you know? So I can see the faces, people yell out songs sometimes. And I'm going to play a lot of the new album, but I'm going to play songs favorites from all of the other albums, and then a few, a handful from Ally McBeal toward the end of the set, because that's like some people, that's the only way they know me. But it's been 20 something years, so now people know the other stuff as well. So,
do you have covers that you like to play? Or
I like to play "You Belong to Me." That's one of my favorites. Just feels like I wrote it, even though I didn't, because I've sung it so much and I connect with it so much,
Yeah. And you still keep up with Calista? You're good friends with her?
I am, yeah, I am.
Yeah. You went to a concert with her recently, I saw, right?
I did.
Maybe I made that up. No? No? Okay, maybe.
If I did, I forgot. My memory is horrible right now. Like these days.
It's fair. It's fair. We'll agree to leave that wherever it lands.
We went to see Shania Twain together about 25 years ago. Does that count?
Okay.
Recently?
Yeah, that's recent. That works. So, yeah. So tell me about kind of the tour. Is it just you and the piano, or do you have a full band?
I'm bringing the full band. I'm bringing my guitar player he's played with me now 21 years, and he actually almost 22 years, and he played with Tina Turner for 22 years, James Ralston. So, obviously that was kind of a heavy loss. But I'm bringing James, he's a fantastic guitar player. I'm bringing Jim Hansen on bass, who played with Johnny Cash and Bruce Springsteen. Excuse me. I'm bringing, for the first time, he's a new drummer. I'm borrowing Crowded House's percussionist, who also plays drums, because Mitchell, my husband, is in the band Crowded House.
Oh, really?
The last 3 years, yeah. So we're borrowing Paul Taylor on drums, and he's going to be great. It's going to be a blast.
That's awesome. And you recently, back in February, played Germany and France also. I mean, what were those shows like?
Oh, I love going to Europe, and my US fans get really pissed off at me. They're like, why don't you ever play Kalamazoo? I have a special thing for France. I studied French in school for 3 years, and I spent the summer there when I was 16. And so it's really nice going back to France. Those shows were just phenomenal. We played Belgium, we played the Netherlands, we played Germany and France. And in October, we did the UK. And those were my first big tours since the pandemic. So it was just incredible. I loved it. I really appreciated it after having been away for 3 years.
Yeah. And I know you said you didn't know that you had this album in you, but kind of being at this point now, do you see another album kind of coming around the corner down the line? I mean, there's no rush or anything, but do you see, I mean, what headspace are you in terms of kind of continuing to make music?
Steve, you're always on my back about this. Come on.
I know, gosh, seriously, come on. Look, I heard you could do like 3 songs a day. Like, come on, you should have an album next week, right? So.
Well, to tell you the truth, I actually am working on some songs, and I'm recording them on my iPhone, just the ideas, and I'm taking it easy with the songs. I'm just getting them down, and then that hard editing process is in my future. And it's going to take a decision, because the songs are starting to arrive. It's like it's going to be a decision to sit for the hours and hours it takes to go through them and find the best parts, and then have the guts to play them for Mitchell without going, he's going to say that sucks, which he would never do. No. But, in your head. And I think there will be another album. And part of me wonders if I should just do a solo piano vocal album with new songs. But then the other part of me thinks I should do a whole album with really super funky, up-tempo, positive songs. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
Maybe a split, So
yeah,
it could work. Yeah. Have you thought about writing a book at any point? Does that ever cross your mind, because you have so many stories and experiences?
Yeah, I have thought about it, and I have about 150 journals I've kept throughout my life. So I have the actual vivid memories documented.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it would be really boring though for someone to read.
Cathartic and for you, right? It's just like to be able to truncate, like, I don't know, 1,500 pages down to a couple hundred, and kind of relive those experiences, right? So
Might be a good idea. And when you think about writing a book, you have to decide how much you want to put out there, about, and it's a touchy one. And I'm not like a gossip. I don't like to talk badly about people. So
Yeah.
the book might be really boring, but my friend Susanna Hoffs just wrote a book. I don't know if you heard about it. It's
No.
called This Bird Has Flown, and it got like amazing reviews, and they're making a movie of it. So, and it's loosely based on her life. It's fiction, but it's, you see the derivation of some of the book. It's
Did
great.
she know when she was writing it that it was going to be turned into a movie, or does this just
Oh,
happenstance? No. Yeah.
and her husband is Jay Roach, who directed,
Yeah.
Parents, Meet the Fockers, all the Mike Myers movies, and she got a deal for a movie like that. And he's like, this is unfreaking believable that this happened, because it's so hard to get this going. So
Yeah.
I don't know who's in the movie. I haven't talked to her in a few weeks, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited for her.
That's exciting. Yeah, your life story could be turned into a movie. You never know, right? So you gotta have some dirt though. You got to dish some dirt, I think, to make it really exciting. But that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vonda, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I mean, like I said, you have so many stories, and it's been great to just even scratch the surface with all of them. And I'm sure you're excited about the tour. Do you have any fun plans for the milestone birthday, which we don't have to put a number on? We already have.
It's so funny. I was gonna plan a little party, and because Mitchell's birthday is also tomorrow, a big one for him as well. But we both just were like, nah, no, this is not.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I want to mention though, just so in case I forget, I just put out Red Light, Green Light on vinyl, and I'm bringing it to the gigs. So if anyone wants to pick it up, they can grab one there. And I hope people come to the shows, because they're going to be really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that as well, and happy early birthday, I'll say to you. So I hope the tour goes really well, and that the next phase is just as exciting. So
Thank you so much, and to you too. And it's great chatting with you. Thank you.
that was my interview with Vonda Shepard here on Concert Pipeline. That takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. Just a couple stories to wind us out here today on the program. I'm going to start with one about Madonna. She postponed her celebration tour after intensive care hospitalization. Her health is still improving. However, she is under medical care. She was supposed to embark on a massive 40th anniversary celebration tour next month, which would have kicked off in Vancouver, British Columbia on July 15th. There was a stop in the Bay Area, I think, as well, and it went up through into October, hitting London and Europe. And now a statement from her manager says that she developed a serious bacterial infection, which led to a several-day stay in the ICU. Her health is improving. However, she's under medical care. Full recovery is expected. And at this time, they're pausing all commitments, which include the tour. They'll share more details when they have them, as well as a start date for the tour and for rescheduled shows. But right now, if you think you have tickets to Madonna, you probably do not. You should get a refund at the point of purchase. Last week on the program, we talked about a unique gift that Pink received on stage. Someone threw their mother's ashes in a bag, Ziploc bag, up on the stage, and Pink saw it and said, "Is this your mother?" And well, she got a better gift at her recent show. It was a giant wheel of brie that someone gave her mid-concert. I don't know what it is with giving Pink unique gifts, but apparently the people are getting creative. And it went over better than the human ashes. So she's getting some strange gifts. And so this brie, there was a video taken from her show at Hyde Park in London over the weekend, and she could be seen interacting with concert goers at the edge of the stage, smiling and giving air hugs to fans in between belting out lyrics. And she bends down to take an offering from the crowd, a circle of brie de mieux, which she hugs close to her chest and mouths, "I love you." Big fan of brie, huh? Okay, so she was happy to be the recipient of the delicious dairy product, which is more than can be said about that other gift that she received more recently, and hopefully the ashes got back to the proper person. Yeah. Okay. Fall Out Boy. They actually did a cover. They updated Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" in a cover that name checks Taylor Swift and more. It also mentions several musical icons which have died since the original version was released in 1989. And this was that song was the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 the week Taylor Swift was born in December of 1989, and she was name checked in the song. And so let's see some of the references that they talk about. I think they talk about Kanye West. It's a fast-moving new cover. It includes Kurt Cobain, Michael Jackson, Prince, and Woodstock '99, Firefest, Black Parade, My Chemical Romance, and YouTube Killed MTV. So lots of references in their cover, and of course you can check video of that out online. Brian Setzer has announced Rockabilly Riot Tour. He's confirmed a 12-date fall tour coinciding with a new solo album due in the upcoming months. More details coming soon on that. And these are his first live shows in over 4 years. It's going to kick off September 27th at the Count Basie's Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey. Includes stops in Nashville, Chicago, Cincinnati, Minneapolis, and tickets are on sale or going on sale pretty soon. He says, "I've had a pretty long break and I needed it. I'm renewed and really want to play live again. I just want to get out on the road with this kick-ass little 3-piece band and start playing." His set list is going to include some of the favorite covers he's doing now. I haven't recorded it, but I really like playing my version of Georgia on My Mind. And then with the band, I want to play a new song, Girl on the Billboard, because it tells a fun story. Handful of shows there in the Midwest area, none out here on the West Coast at this point. And then our final story, we do like to end with a story from Dave Grohl, if we can. Foo Fighters covered Michael Bublé's "Haven't Met You Yet" on tour as Dave Grohl made up his own lyrics, his own rather naughty lyrics, and he danced along. So they're performing silly cover medleys on tour and playing through snippets of Michael Bublé's "Haven't Met You Yet," which he refuses to learn the lyrics to, which is awesome. Dave Grohl, let's see what we got here. The rendition has been taking place during the band's cover medley on their ongoing summer tour, which also includes Beastie Boys' Sabotage, Devo's Whip It, and 9 Inch Nails' March of the Pigs. Grohl and company can be seen playing through the jaunty number as the front man stands up at the front of the stage, looking amusingly confused, waving his hands in the air, and making his own lyrics up about how he refuses to learn the track. He sings, "I don't know the fucking words. I don't know the song. You might know it, but I fucking don't. I was supposed to practice it, but I fucking don't care," before muttering some unintelligible lines about how they're only performing the song to introduce the audience to their new drummer, John Freese, who of course they hadn't met yet. So yeah, exciting times. Looking forward to seeing Foo Fighters in August when they come to Lake Tahoe. We're going to close this out with one more song from Blink-182's set at Golden One Arena in Sacramento. This is All the Small Things. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.
No
shit.